I'm way more on Andrew Wilson's team than I am on that woman's team, whoever she is. Guys, check this out. This is pretty crazy. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is Andrew Wilson. This is Andrew Wilson talking to some woman. This is pretty intense. Check this.
One of the things I don't like about these things, this podcast, these sort of podcasts, is that they generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, they'll invite like absolute bimbos who are trying to defend their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the men usually will be the ones saying like, you guys don't know what you're doing and all that stuff.
Well, I'll try to rephrase this. I'm going to reframe, and I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I will never be able to convince you of my worldview.
You won't.
I know. But the reason is not because I'm not a great orator, or I don't make good points, or I haven't said things which should be compelling to a person. But Charlie, I just think honestly you're too stupid to understand them.
So Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you
you
lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
Okay.
You're a fuck. Don't talk about my wife, you stupid. Shut your mouth.
Oh.
Shut your stupid mouth.
We can handle this.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did
daddies?
I just say?
Wife with the 3
Sorry,
baby
I'm
daddies?
sorry. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your licking?
Do the men that you try to...
Do the women that you try
show
to...
your hatred against...
Do the women that you try
convince
to...
them that they shouldn't...
You know, Charlie, did I bring...
Women? Do they know
Charlie,
that
did
your
I bring
wife
your
is 5
family...
years older?
Did I bring any of your
You
family
called me
into
fucking
anything?
stupid.
Did I
You
say
called
anything
me
about
fucking
your
stupid.
family being stupid, Charlie?
You could.
It's
You could
because
go
I'm
for it.
better than you, Charlie.
No, it's because you're embarrassed, and you know that the traditional values that you try to sell people on are bullshit because
Let's
you
go
are not
through
a
it.
traditional man.
Chuck, let's go through it.
You are not a traditional man.
Let's go through it, Chuck. Tell me what I'm doing which is immoral.
So this was trending as like him getting owned moment, and because he's always out there like, you know, talking about conservative like values and women this and women that and women that, and this girl like, I mean, this was trending like crazy. She apparently calls him out like your apparently guys, apparently his wife apparently has, and this is public news now, so I'm not like throwing it out there, has like kids with 3 different men, and she cheated on her husband while, like, she cheated with this guy while she had a husband, and then they had a kid. The point she's trying to make is like, you try to like throw these values out, but you don't live by them. This is what I think. I think that the way you live your life has consequences when you start talking about other people. And so, look, I know this myself. I've talked to Arthur personally about this. There are sometimes things I talk about now that I'm like, damn, I'm such a hypocrite. Like if somebody were to look at the entire scale of my life. And so what you do as a Christian is you go like, I'm going to get as far away from that hypocrisy as possible and be more like Jesus each and every day. So when somebody examines my life and they talk about me kind of like the David Wood situation, they could say, oh, look at what David Wood did. But when did he do that? Oh, he was such a bad person. But when was he such a bad person? Oh, but he's 45 now and he's not like, oh, so there was a change in his life, right? But when you claim to be like standing up for biblical truth and biblical manhood, but you talk like that to people every day, right, on these things for like shock alert, shock value, and then somebody calls you on it and says, wait a minute, you're saying all this stuff, but you're this and you're that and your family's this, and then that defensiveness comes out like, whoa. It's like, dude, let's be real. I agree with Andrew Wilson for a lot of things he says. I'm way more on Andrew Wilson's team than I am on that woman's team, whoever she is, right, if you listen to it. But it matters the way you speak. Like, it matters the way you talk. So that's what I was trying to say. There's 2 ends of things, right? Like, this is when we said there's pansies, and then there's people that talk like that. They can't wait, hold their own weight, right?
Here's the issue here. That plenty of people, like I said, plenty of people in a certain community will watch this and be like, see, Andrew put that woman in her place, called her these names, called her but he only did it when his family life was brought into the picture. Now, Andrew's, I know what his defense is going to be. It's going to be, well, she attacked my wife.
It was. You're right. That was the defense.
Yeah. It's you attacked my wife. I didn't bring it. Like, I brought arguments, and then you attacked my wife. But there should be something said about what you're bringing up. Because it's not your wife that's being brought up per se. It's you're being brought up, whether you're consistent with what you're preaching.
Yeah.
So it's equivalent to Jesus talking about the Pharisees. It's essentially saying that you should do what they tell you to do, but don't do what they do, because they're hypocrites.
Yeah.
So Jesus distinguishes between their speech versus the way they live their lives. And our society, and any society, I would say, those things are very closely related, obviously. Like, the ideal situation is you want someone to live a certain way, and they live in accordance to the stuff that they preach. And then nobody has anything to say about that. As a matter of fact, this is a qualification for leadership in a New Testament church, is that you would have a good reputation, that people wouldn't have anything to say about your reputation. You're not going to give them things to say about your reputation that's going to disqualify you. You're honorable, respectable, and all that stuff. Yeah, I wish Andrew held his nerve in that moment. It would have looked so much better if he held his nerve and said something like, okay, I hear you, but I brought out arguments that had nothing to do with anyone's life. It had nothing to do with your family or X, Y, and Z. The arguments stand on their own, regardless whether I live like that or don't.
Yeah.
Like that would.
I mean, that would have been the least embarrassing answer, but still pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand why he's getting defensive and all that stuff, because now he's being attacked. But again, the other thing is, I don't see a need, even in a conversation like that, to say, I can't convince you of my worldview, and that's because you're just stupid.
Yeah.
Here's why I don't. I'll tell you why I don't. Stephen is, in the book of Acts, being killed. And he stands in front of the people and says, brothers, fathers, and then he gives the sermon. One of the guys that is there, that everybody's respecting and everybody lays down their coats in front of, is Paul, Saul of Tarsus. I wonder if Stephen stood there and said, Saul, you know why I can't convince you of my worldview? It's because you're stupid. Look, presumably, I don't know how old these people are that he's talking to. Most of the stuff that I've seen that are like this, they're on the younger end. Like, man, for all we know, when they're like 30, 35, sadly, it might take some time, they're going to look back and say, man, I was very stupid. Like a lot of us have. Look back and say, man, I was really stupid when I was young. I made really dumb, stupid decisions, and X, Y, and Z. And maybe they come to their senses. Even if they are stupid, maybe they come to their senses. And so I look at that in a polemical sense of, is it necessary in a conversation to call someone stupid for you not being able to convince them? Like, I would have not said that. As a matter of fact, I would have said it has nothing to do with knowledge.
Yeah.
I would have said something like this. Charlie, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Charlie, it doesn't seem like it's possible for me to convince you of my worldview. That's not because I'm not a good orator, and that's not because I don't have good arguments. That's because you are unwilling. Your will is set against the things I'm talking about. So your will's the issue. It has nothing to do with the intelligence. I would have even said you seem like a very smart and intelligent individual. But your will's the problem. You are not willing to bend it to the truth of the matter, to the facts of the matter. I think that would have been a way better response in a situation like that. And this is partly why I see these things and I go, man, there's like 80 million other things you could have said in that moment. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Andrew afterwards would say, Arthur, you're right. There could have been many other ways I could have put it, and I didn't. I was wrong or whatever like that. I don't know. I've never had a conversation with Andrew Wilson. I've talked to a couple of people that have had conversations with him, and they had pretty good things to say about him, frankly. They were like, hey, he's a great guy. I was like, okay, I've never met him. I can't comment on that. So I just really can't get behind with some of the ways he's talking about people. But that's the way I would have done it. And I think it would have been received better. I know it's not clippable. I know it wouldn't be like, check this out. This woman got owned. She got called a whore and a slut and all this stuff. Yeah, but then what's my intent at that point?
Yeah. Also, is your intent like, because Andrew Wilson considers himself Christian.
Yeah.
Like it's part of his persona. Is his faith is a big
Yeah.
part of what he does, right? So, I can't imagine myself in any scenario calling a woman that I'm speaking to like that stupid, especially like effing stupid,
Yeah.
on television and justifying that. So we gotta look. We always say this, Arthur, when we talk in person. It's an overcorrection,
Yes.
right? So men have been told, shut up, don't talk, you're stupid, you're hateful, you're racist, you're bigot, you're chauvinist. So then there's these guys that are like overcorrecting the language, where there is actually a method to do it, and that's the method like of Jesus Christ, like the one who you believe. And I know it's cringy and cliche and stuff, and I don't usually use this like, what would Jesus do? But like, in what way, like if you care for the soul of the person you are listening to, for their heart, for where they'll end up, for their relationship or potential relationship with God, then you would never think that there's no way to convince you, because your theology would tell you if God wants to convince someone of an argument, that he can do it. So like, shouldn't the vision be bigger than just like one subject? Shouldn't it be like,
yes. So here's where my beef generally ends up being, is because I'm an evangelist at heart.
yeah,
And whenever I get into conversations with people, it's not for the purposes of changing our society, making our society more conservative. It's not for all of those values. Bring family values back, whatever that would mean. My thing is, bring this person to Christ, all the rest will follow. And so I focus on that. Like, what are the best ways of me representing the gospel to this individual and giving them an opportunity to become Christians, so they no longer have an excuse for rejecting the gospel.
yeah, that's right.
And so that changes the way I speak about these things. It's not a personal issue that I have with individuals. It's a gospel issue. And so I bring that into the conversation, and I present it in such a way where even if they reject it, they can't say anything about me. They can't say, oh man, he was a jerk and he was rude, he cussed me out and did this, because I didn't do any of that stuff. Like I said, I would have said something like, it seems to me that you are a very intelligent individual and you understand exactly what I'm saying. But it seems like I'm not going to be able to convince you.
Yeah.
And I think at the bottom line, at the end of this, is because you just don't want your will to be submitting to the will of God. To a certain extent, you deflect on that of like, hey, I'm not saying this stuff. This stuff is not Arthur's ideas against your ideas. This stuff is God's ideas, his revelation, his word, versus the stuff you're saying and the way you're living your life.
Yeah.
And let that work itself out. So I think there's a better way. I don't know if there's always a better way, because there might be situations where there just isn't. I don't know, situations I've never thought about. But almost always, I think there's a better way of approaching situations like this. It's a debate, it seems right? It's a debate. It's the two of them sitting, and there's a moderator. And like, you don't want to go into a debate and say, the reason why I'm unable to convince you of my view is because you're stupid.
Yeah, you're already giving up.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here then? Yeah.
Like, even if they are stupid, you should have pity on them for their stupidity.
That's right.
If you're talking to a unintelligent child, an unintelligent teenager, they just don't know any better, you don't look at them and say, you're so stupid, you don't understand math. You have pity on them. You explain it. You try to find 5 different ways of explaining the concept to them so they understand it. Because it doesn't help anyone in the situation to call them stupid and just move on. That's my take on this.